to 1-6 on the year, surpassing last year's loss total. Here's Giants GM Jerry Reese saying he's the reason for the team's struggles.
You know, we're 1-6. It's not where we want to be, obviously, and but this is where we are. This roster, it's my roster. You know, I'm responsible for everybody on the roster, and I'll take ownership to where we are right now with this 1-6 start.
You know, after 7 games, you're gonna have bumps and bruises, and obviously we've gone through a tough stretch, and so get away from it a little bit, but come back understanding we got a lot of football games left, and we got to get better. We got to make improvements, and we got to find ways to win some football games. I got to play better, and so I'm not worried about my job going out there and playing at a high level. It's tough just because you're not winning football games. That's the only reason it's tough. It's not comparing yourself to other teams. It's just of what the facts are, and that hey, we've lost a bunch of games, and that hurts. And so you want to go out there, you want to compete every week, you want to get wins, and that's what we're working towards.
But they're not getting those wins. So for more on what's going on with the Giants, we're inside the film room here with Josina Anderson. Jojo, what are you hearing from Giants players and coaches, perhaps, when they hear the GM Jerry Reese saying, hey, it's on me, this is all my fault?
Well, one of the comments that people reacted to was also the general manager saying that perhaps they bought into the hype of thinking that they were going to be a Super Bowl contender coming off of an 11-5 season. And one person said to me, there's no room to even be thinking that, Trey, once we got our butt kicked 38-13 in that wild card game against the Packers, only winning 1 game since they took that photo back in Miami. And the other thing, just to be clear-headed, which is obviously the GM's job and the people who are tasked with doing that, is out of those 11 wins, Trey, 8 of them came from 7 points or less. So they were barely winning with the 26 scoring offense and a defense that was put there in place because you were 36th ranked, 32nd the year before, and having to spend all that money on the defense that was giving $105 million guaranteed going to Jenkins, Olivier Vernon, and also Snacks Harrison, and artificially kind of boosting that result. The other thing that I was hearing from people was that there's some internal disagreement as to how long they should be hitching their wagon to Eli Manning. But, Trey, once you made the decision to do that, you got to address the offensive line. And with the players that were out there with, Whitworth that went to the Rams, protecting now for Jared Goff, that Russell Okung wanted to be the left tackle, keeping Eric Flowers there. LeGarrette Blount wanted to be a Giant, couldn't get that done as far as the running game or what have you. These are obvious key points that are out there as far as things that they could have done to address things that have been addressing this team for a fair amount of time, and that's the chatter that I'm hearing.
Yeah, listen, the bottom line is they won the Super Bowl the first year Jerry Reese was a GM, but they've missed the playoffs 7 of the last 9 seasons with him. So it's got to be something that's got to get turned around. And as far as Eli Manning goes, is it Geno Smith or Davis Webb that you're hitching your wagon to at this point behind that offensive line? Who knows?
You wanted to start the plan of succession earlier than that with not just people backing up.
And Ben McAdoo has said we're staying with Eli Manning as our quarterback. All right, let's move on. Talk about the Seahawks. A 7-time Pro Bowl defensive Dwight Freeney has signed with Seattle. Freeney played in 15 regular season games last season for the Falcons, and of course they made it to the Super Bowl. He finished the regular season with 3 sacks. Let's stay in Seattle for a minute. If you believe the source, it appears the Seahawks have benched quarterback Jeremy Lane, who's been with the team since 2012, in favor of rookie corner Shaquille Griffin out of Central Florida. That source? That would be Jeremy Lane's Twitter feed. As you can see there, how I get benched on a day off! Exclamation point, exclamation point.
You show the other tweet, too. He said some other stuff.
Some colorful language. It was some colorful language that he used. So not using colorful language.
Yeah.
What more can you tell us about the situation with Jeremy Lane in Seattle?
Well, it's interesting because he hadn't been playing since week 4, presumably because of that groin injury. So when you didn't see him play against the Giants, that's what you thought it was. And there was a play during that game, Trey, let's show it here, where Shaquille Griffin was actually chasing down Evan Griffin. The play started 1st and 10 from the Giants' own 25. And then the player you see right there with that yellow circle, he is catching him. Now, what's interesting about that, Trey, is that Evan Ingram runs a 4.42 as a tight end. And this guy is catching him from behind. And so I asked Richard Sherman, who is that player making that type of play? And Richard Sherman told me in the locker room afterward, let me tell you, Josina, that rook can play. And people are going to start figuring out that they don't need to throw on his side just because he's opposite me. And the thing that I love about him is that he's real coachable, he's real poised, and anytime that he makes a mistake, he doesn't make it again. So Richard Sherman was really praising this guy, and a day later, Jeremy Lane is on Twitter talking about what he's talking about.
Exactly. To your point about Shaquille Griffin, what kind of guy he is, he has a twin brother that he played with at Central Florida, Shaquem Griffith. Now, Shaquem had to have his left hand amputated at the age of 4, so he's out there playing, and I think he was the Conference Defensive Player of the Year as a linebacker without a left hand. Shaquille Griffin's dream was to play at the University of Miami. He turned down a scholarship because, no, I'm only going to go where my brother and I can play together. And the two of them played together last season at Central Florida. And now you know the whole Shaquille and Shaquem story. Josina, thanks very much.
Future.
When we come back on this edition of NFL Live, we'll look into some top-notch matchups, league-leading defenses and dominant offenses. We also have 18 helmets down, 14 more to go. And among those teams we'll talk about, some irresistible immovable objects and irresistible forces that might be matching up this weekend. That's all ahead. Stay with us.
Domino's, 2 large pepperoni pizzas, please.
Only Domino's lets you earn piece of the pie.
Live, as we talked about, Houston takes on Seattle in Seattle this week. Should be exciting given that both Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson like to get outside the pocket and make plays. Rookie quarterbacks are 0-4 in Seattle since the start of 2012, but Texans head coach Bill O'Brien and company are looking forward to the challenge, as Adam Schefter found out in this podcast.
How has he just changed the feel around your team compared to other years?
He's got a unique way about him, Adam. I mean, he's a very bright guy. He like I said, he's the same guy every day, but he's got a presence about him when he walks into the locker room or comes into the meeting room. He's got a way of interacting with his teammates. Doesn't matter what position they play or what year they are. He has fun at practice. You know, he's a young guy who has a lot of fun at practice. Not in a joking around manner, but he really enjoys playing the game and practicing and being with his teammates. And, you know, I think that's rubbed off on everyone.
I just continue to make better decisions, ball placement, make quicker reads, pocket awareness, and just try to operate the offense as best as I can. That's going to be a fun task, you know, because these are guys that I've looked up to. I watched over the previous years and actually got to know, so it's going to be fun to going against them guys and competing with them.
All right, so that matchup just a ton this weekend that features a battle of strengths. We're calling this irresistible force taking on an immovable object. And let's start with that matchup we were just talking about here, the Texans and the Seahawks. Just so you understand, Houston has come on strong offensively behind rookie quarterback Deshaun Watson. They have the third best scoring offense in the NFL, and they'll take a crack at Seattle, who's, as they always are, number one in scoring defense, it seems, almost every year, except for last year when New England did that. So, Herm, great scoring offense. At home, Seattle against that defense, who has the advantage?
I'm going to take Seattle. They play with 12 people up there.
That's
12
true.
man. When 12 against 11 always wins, and Deshaun is having a fabulous year. But the problem is that this defense is fast. They'll find a way to contain him in the pocket with those ends, and they'll put a spy guy on him so he can't leave the pocket to run. Their secondary is good enough to match up with the wideouts, so I like Seattle at home.
And again, they just got Dwight Freeney, so
that helps.
A little extra addition because Cliff Averill now on injured reserve. Okay, let's talk about Tom Brady and the Patriots. They've been airing it out all year long. He's averaging over 300 passing yards per game, second most in the NFL. Aha, but the Chargers, you see, are fifth best in pass defense and have an NFL high 13 sacks on third down. Bill, who has the advantage here?
Well, the advantage is to the Pats and Tom Brady. Number one, it's in Foxborough.
Yep.
Number two, the sacks are coming from Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, and they are outside players. In order to get Tom Brady off his spot, you have to get pressure from the inside, and then the outside guys clean it up. So they've been really good, have the Pats this year, controlling the inside. So unless the Chargers can get inside pressure, I'm going with Brady.
Really interesting in the Texans-Patriots playoff matchup a couple of years ago. They used an outside rusher, Whitney Merciless.
They surely did,
and put him
inside.
Absolutely, and that created some problems for New England. We'll see if they do something like that in this showdown. Then there's an AFC West game on Monday night, which is going to be great. You have the Kansas City Chiefs offense and Alex Smith and all the little plays that everybody seems to be copying from their playbook all year long. Their third in total offense. The Broncos may have lost 2 games in a row, but it ain't this unit's fault. You have to score points to win a game, and they were shut out, and Denver's number one overall defense kept them in that game in Los Angeles this past weekend. Herm, who do you see as the advantage here?
I'm going to go with Kansas City at home. This is another divisional rivalry game, a big game, primetime television. The Broncos are very good on defense. They're savvy. They can get after the quarterback. They have all those great things. Problem is they don't match up good in the back end of the defense with Kelsey, the tight end. That's the problem.
Well,
he is the problem maker for a lot of defenses.
He is, and one of the reasons, by the way, that T.J. Ward has moved on from them into Tampa, they like the kid Justin Simmons, in part because the safety's matching up better against tight ends, but Travis Kelce right now is a matchup nightmare for anybody that's playing him. Both of them coming in on 2-game losing streaks, by the way, so we'll see what happens. Going to be a great one, though. Arrowhead, always the best smelling stadium in America. That barbecue just walks in from the parking lot. Broncos and Chiefs, Week 8, Monday Night Football. It's also available in Spanish on ESPN2, and, of course, it's preceded by Monday Night Countdown. It is going to be quite the show at Arrowhead Monday night. 21 teams down, 11 to go on this edition of NFL Live. And when we come back, Cam Newton doing something this week that he didn't do last week, speaking to the media. Well, for a while anyway. We'll let you know exactly what happens. Stay with us. Falcons on the road this week taking on the Jets. Atlanta's offense is suffering an identity crisis in that it can't be found. It finished last season as the top scoring offense, averaging almost 34 points a game, but that number's down to 21 in 2017 and 13.7 over their last 3 games. The Bears are 2-1 with Mitchell Trubisky as their starter. Thank you, cornerback Eddie Jackson. The rookie will face a much tougher test this Sunday against the Saints team. Think about what we just said. The Saints defense is a tough test. They've played great now for 4 straight games, 4 wins under new DC Dennis Allen after an 0-2 start to the season. And an NFC South showdown when the Panthers take on the Bucs. Cam Newton's had that roller coaster season thus far. League high 8 interceptions on 3rd down, but could it be a potential gut-right game against the Bucs? This defense has struggled in 2017. Cam did not speak to reporters last week. He did this week. It didn't go great.
In this game, you just got to find ways to win. And you got to find ways to, to protect the football. That's what I had to, always keep in mind doing, and I haven't been doing a good job of that, whether just the luck of the draw, balls tipping up in the air, or just bad decisions. Either way, it all falls on my shoulders, and, I have to be better with that. When we're playing Panther football, it's pretty exciting. And when we're not, we know that it's just a lethargic team that's out there that's emotionless, and that has to change. We have to give ourselves reasons to celebrate and be enthusiastic while out there on the football field. And when you do that, that's contagious.
And big plays, big chunk plays kind of get to that energy, I think, that you're talking about. Does this offense, and I know you had several at Detroit, New England, do you think you guys have the wherewithal to do that consistently week in and week out?
Next question. Thanks.
Probably good.
All right, sir. That didn't seem like a question that was out of ordinary, did you?
What's that about?
Yeah.
Lethargic? Emotionless?
I mean, it seemed like a very straightforward question. He said, I don't know who the reporter was, but he said, hey, we've seen those chunk plays in a couple of games. Do you think you can do that consistently? And Cam seemed very put off by that.
Yeah.
Well, I think this whole offense is put off in the sense that when you watch them play, they have Stewart, they have Cam, and they have McCaffrey. And the running game consists of those 3 particular players. Stewart's carried it 99 times, Cam 49 times, and McCaffrey is about 26 times. And the problem is this. There's no rhythm in the run game because there's so much trickery and so much movement that no one ever gets involved in the run game properly. That really sets this whole offense in motion because this is a team that's built on they like to run the football, throw the ball down the field. McCaffrey was the guy that was supposed to be the little gadget player for them, right? And right now when you watch them play, there's no consistent basis on what they want to run as running plays. There's some option, there's some tosses, there's some bubbles, all the trickery stuff. And I think that's the frustration for Cam in this offense right now. They can't find their rhythm in the running.
Is that an offensive line issue?
Yes. Part of the problem, too, though, is the fact that Olsen is missing.
No question.
Olsen is Cam's security blanket.
Chain move.
Olsen is the chunk plays, and he's not there. And the 2 outside receivers are big, slow guys who can muscle and get up there and catch high balls, but they're not chunk play guys. They don't get open. They don't create plays in that intermediate area. And as a result, he doesn't have anybody to go to if the run game isn't there.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have anybody to go to on play action except down the field.
Well, the other issue, too, is that, they've said all along in drafting McCaffrey, we're going to change the way we attack this running game. We're going to take some of that pressure off Cam. We don't want to run as many quarterback options and all that stuff. And they're doing that same stuff.
Yeah.
And they haven't really gotten away from that. They're saying, when all else fails, Cam, go make a play with your legs.
49 runs already.
Yeah.
He's going to be at 100 again.
Yeah, which is what the thing they said they weren't going to do. One other note for you on Carolina, Luke Kuechly, the outstanding linebacker who's missed a couple of games with concussion, full participant in practice today.
Good. Way to go, Luke.
We'll see what happens for Luke. Okay, let's tally up the helmets. 26 down, 6 to go, and we will get through them all, ladies and gentlemen, on NFL Live. John Wall versus Lonzo Ball, Mark Teixeira, David Ross on Game 2 of the World Series, and a conversations with Boogie Cousins the night before his return to Sacktown. SportsCenter at night, you bet it's streaming on the app. All right, back to wrap up NFL Live. You got to get through all these teams. Adam, let's start with the Saxonville Saguars. What do you got on them?
Well, with the Saxonville Jaguars, one of the reasons they're the Saxonville Jaguars is the great cornerback play of Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Boye. When you talk to people around the league, Trey, they seem to think that this has evolved into arguably the single best cornerback tandem in the entire league. Ramsey and Boye getting it done in Jacksonville on that great Saxonville defense. And then in regards to the Green Bay Packers, Brett Hundley didn't have a great successful first start in the NFL, but again, there is continued faith and belief that he will be able to get the job done, keep the Packers afloat, and give Aaron Rodgers a chance potentially to come back later in the year. Also notable that the number one cornerback on the opposing team the last couple of weeks has gravitated more towards Devontae Adams than Jordy Nelson. Interesting, Trey.
All right, Adam, thanks very much. Wow, he has Boye and Ramsey ahead of Chris Harris and Aqib Talib. That's pretty impressive.
Good company.
Right, we got 4 teams left. Herm, let's start with the Eagles. What do you got there?
Well, you got the Philadelphia Eagles, the hottest team in football right now. They go out and play San Francisco, and guess what? I think they're going to win another game.
You think they're going to win that one?
Yeah,
Meanwhile, 49ers said Joe Staley's dominance on his conference call with the 49ers. So we'll see what's going on there. And you've got the Ravens and the Raiders to finish us out.
Okay, Ravens, receivers, concussion protocol.
Yeah.
Tough.
Rashad Perriman and Mike Wallace.
Exactly right. Raiders, defense, show up against Shady McCoy. Can't give up 30 points.
No, you cannot.
Not in Buffalo.
Khalil Mack, by the way, going to Buffalo. Remember, he played at the University of Buffalo, so you know he will be inspired to take care of business where he spent his college life.